Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good afternoon, everyone. So today, in the initial part of the session, we are going to focus on two necessary components that must be understood, discerned, acknowledged, and then eventually got rid of. But we cannot get rid of that which we do not know. Hence, we are going to be talking about what is Vitakka, what is Vicāra, how can we discern the existence of Vitakka and Vicāra in our meditation, and then how do we then put in the energy that is required to get rid of that inference of Vitakka, how we initially use Vitakka, and then having used Vitakka, when the time comes, how we must then reduce Vitakka, focus on Vicāra, and how we must then get rid of Vicāra to focus on the aspects and the qualities that would lead to a greater, seamless, and also a more immersive meditational experience. All right. So I do feel like I'm speaking to myself. I feel like it is only me and Devika here. So, which is Devika, I do not mind. It will be a wonderful. However, thank you for on your cameras, Hari. Now, after we do that discussion, we will then go on to, because I realize that we do not have a recording of the 12 aspects that we contemplate of the Dhātu-manasikāra, proper recording, right? So I will be recording the meditation session and then posting it online so that you could use it as a guidance to go over the different, to go over your practice with the recording, should it be helpful for you to practice at home, right? Now, Vitakka and Vicāra. Now, we understand that Vitakka, what is Vitakka? Vitakka is initial application. Initial application is an aspect of mind that is associated with each and every consciousness. We know this already, right? However, that is not enough. We need to then realize, how does Vitakka come into play, and how do we sort of also catch when Vitakka is there? The thing is, Vitakka itself is that thought. Now, at this moment, when you are wondering, okay, what is Vitakka? What does Vitakka mean to me? Do I have Vitakka in my meditation? That itself is Vitakka. Is that clear, everyone? Vitakka is that thought, right? If we might say as a verb, thinking, right? Thinking is Vitakka. Now, you can think about something and you can think about many things, isn't it? In meditation, we try to reduce thinking about many things and then focus about thinking on one thing. That is Vitakka upon one object. Is that clear? Vitakka upon one object. Now, when we go into the early Buddhist texts, which relates to the early Buddhist texts, which relates to the Metta Sutra, for example, right? Now, in the early Buddhist texts of the Metta Bhavana, loving kindness meditation, it says that loving kindness meditation, the earliest form, cannot develop into jhana, right? Cannot develop into jhana. However, you can develop loving kindness into jhana, right? You can. But there is a way to do it. What is that way, right? I'm trying to prove the point about Vitakka here. Now, loving kindness meditation, I'm just going to take the example of loving kindness meditation to show you talk about Vitakka. Now, loving kindness meditation in the early Buddhist texts was a form of radiating compassion and loving kindness, initially taught to radiate loving kindness towards ghouls and ghosts, right? To help monks live in the dark Andavane, the forests, right? In the dark Andavane and the forests. So Metta Bhavana was a way of sort of keeping the monks protected from these evil energies that could hinder and harm, right? And also to continue the practice in a manner that you wouldn't be disturbed by all of these energies, right? That was the initial reason loving kindness was taught. However, that does not mean that if we are not in the midst of ghosts and ghouls, right? Even the living ones, right? Even the living, right? We cannot, that Metta Bhavana does not apply, right? The Metta Bhavana does not apply. Metta Bhavana, when you go from verse to verse, you find all the qualities that a meditator who wants to progress should have and practice as qualities, as values, as good human values, right? In a manner that you now cultivate a mental setup that you're not hindered by, or you're not hindered by other people's thought, even your own thought, not only other people's, your own. And we know as we progress in the meditation, we realize all of these hindrances proliferate or are proliferated not by others, but by our own minds, our own self. We do it. So metta, initially we can focus on others, but really it is something to be cultivated within, right? The ancient, or rather the early Buddhist texts, focuses metta on a wide variety of objects, siyalu sattvayo, right? May all beings be well and happy, isn't it, everyone? May all beings be well and happy. That is why you can't develop it into jhana, right? That is why you cannot develop it, and why you cannot develop siyalu sattvayo nidikvetva, nirogi vetva, sopat vetva. You cannot develop a strong focus and concentration by that technique. Why? Because it is too gross. There are too many objects. The mind wavers so fast from one object to another that it does not have the time to develop Kanika Samadhi, yes, but it does not develop into Appana and Upachara, which are integral types of Samadhi when it comes to jhanas, absorptions, where the mind can maintain itself within one object. So what does that mean in terms of our discussion today? What that means is the ancient or the early Buddhist text, Metta Sutra, has too much of Vitakka. How do we then reduce the Vitakka? Is shown, the path is shown by the Buddha in other sutras, which we must then put together, right? The commentaries, of course, do that. We don't have to put together. The commentaries have already done that for us, right? Now, siyalu sattvayo nidukvetva, nirogi vetva, may all beings be well and happy, right? This all beings, when it comes to jhana practice, not for the reason of just having a jhana, but to strengthen the mind where the mind is able to retain itself for a prolonged period with one object, to discern one object, which we would need as a skill set when it comes to vipassana. That sielu satyo is broken down into 4 parts, everyone, right? The first is atta. You must have loving kindness towards yourself, right? Not my words, because I know some people have a problem with atta. They say that, okay, you do loving kindness towards yourself and, you get you get self-absorbed, which could be, right? Which very well could be, but you need to balance it out. You need to understand what the technique is. The first is atta, right? Atta is having loving kindness towards yourself. The rest, the next one, atta. The next one is piya puggala. Piya puggala is selecting a person who is dear to you, but not to the sex that you're attracted to the sex you're not attracted to, right? To the sex that you are not attracted to. You do not select the sex that you're attracted to. You only, if you are selecting a person, because these vibrations, because this practice goes into a very intimate mental experience, because you get engulfed and saturated with loving kindness, this could very easily turn to lust. That is why it says clearly, do not start practicing this towards the sex that you are attracted to, right? So, piya puggala, but not attracted to that sex, right? The second, piya puggala. The third is majjata puggala. Someone, an indifferent person, a person that you are indifferent. This could be the person who packs up your groceries. This could be a person that you have seen, that person, might benefit from the metta as well, but you really don't know this person, right? You are not really emotionally tied to this person in any way, an indifferent person. And then we have the veri puggala. A veri puggala is nahi verena. Veri is a person that you dislike, right? The person that you dislike. Now, you do not do metta bhavana on a lot of people. You select one person, right? You select one person. And you do not do all 4 all at once. You do it one time towards the first, atta, get good at it, right? Develop the skill. And when you are comfortable with atta, you move to piya puggala. You do it again and again, again and again, again and again to the piya puggala. Initial application, vitakka, vicāra, sustained application, right? And then letting go of vitakka and vicāra, enjoy the fruit, the feeling of being engulfed and saturated by loving kindness in your heart and your whole vibration, right? Then you move into majjata puggala. Majjata. You cannot do, it says, do not attempt to practice veri puggala, majjata puggala in the first instance. Always go through first atta, second piya, third majjata, fourth veri, a person that is disliked, right? Person that is disliked. Now, do you understand that vitakka there? Applying the mind, thinking of the person is vitakka. Keeping on that thought is vicāra. What could you feel? How can you now, vitakka, you can catch with a thought. Am I doing this correctly? Vitakka. Am I actually meditating? Am I in a meditating? Is my mind actually focused? Vitakka, you see? Now, vitakka, you cannot just get rid of it, of course. Vitakka, you get rid of by growing more familiar with vicāra. Is that clear? Meaning, if your Vitakka, if you cannot bring, now initially Vitakka will be for a number of objects, right? Number of objects. Then you bring it into one object. Is that clear? First of all, when you begin, Vitakka will be for a number of objects. Your mind will run from one object to another, one object to another, one object to another. Then you bring the mind into one place, one object. Now Vitakka is getting better, isn't it? Vitakka is becoming more disciplined, right? Vitakka is getting more disciplined. Now you use the Vitakka to advert to the meditation object, right? So initial phase of Vitakka over many objects, Vitakka to one object, even in the meditation, whilst you're trying to maintain the mind upon the breath or upon an element, the mind will wander, right? Do not recognize this mind as, oh, my mind is wandering. Oh, my mind is wandering. Remember, we spoke about this last week. Not, oh, my mind is wandering, Vitakka. Just advert it as Vitakka. Do you understand? When you advert it to Vitakka, it is less personal. You're not pointing the hand towards yourself. You are specifically focusing on a mental aspect, a property of the mind. So it's less personal to you, right? You do not feel weak. You do not feel as you can't do this. But what you now start feeling is, oh, I need to get better at disciplining the Vitakka. Is that clear? Does that make sense, everyone? Right? So initially, again and again, you bring your mind to the object and Vitakka over time, not a great amount of time, not months or years, right? Within a couple of days, your Vitakka will come to now be disciplined. This Vitakka, now your mind strength, as your Vitakka is more disciplined, your mental strength increases. That is how it becomes disciplined. Now your mind can focus on one thing. At this point, now we engage with the meditation object, whether it be Anapana or the Dhātu-manasikāra. We engage with the object. Now, the initial Vitakka is, okay, we are doing I am going to practice Anapanasati, guide your attention to the breath. Now Vitakka has done its part. We don't need Vitakka anymore. Do you understand? Now it's Vicāra. Vicāra is sustained application. Vitakka is initial application. Vicāra is sustained application. Sustained application is where you're able to be with one object, whatever that object is, one object, without the mind bringing in thought or having or needing thought to discern, decipher this object. Remember, Vitakka is one mental factor. What mental factor comes in Vicāra? Prajna. Prajna and Vitakka are two different things. Remember that. Sometimes you might think in Vipassana, you bring up Vitakka in order to discern is correct. Actually, you're weakening the experience. You do not discern by yourself. Without Prajna, the discernment of Vipassana does not take place. Is that clear? Samma ditti, right view, samma sankappa, right thought, is Prajna. Is Prajna Chetasika or wisdom Chetasika, the wisdom mental factor. Does that make sense? So when you bring Vitakka, you're looking at a Vipassana object through your mundane thought process, which is not going to be efficient. That is why we get rid of Vitakka in the most first instance. The moment that we get hold of the breath, when we can observe the breath, what do? We simply observe it. We stay with the breath, isn't it? We stay with the breath. What is that? Vicāra, not Vitakka. Vicāra. If the Vitakka element is too much, then the observation of the breath is disturbed. Right? This is the process how now the mind becomes calmer, more peaceful, tranquil in nature, and also laying the foundations where these blooms of vipassana can now flower. Right? Can now flower. Vicāra is sustained application. Now, this is a, please let us communicate as well, do ask questions. Now, Vicāra is sustained application, right? Where the mind brought you through Vitarka, the mind or you are sustaining your attention upon the object. We get rid of Vicāra at one point. And then only the experience is there, isn't it? Now, what is that? How do we do that? Do you understand? Are we on one page? Are we at the same place together? Right? Now, we are talking about Vitakka, we've spoken, right? Bringing the mind to the objects, the thought, Vitakka. And then now we are speaking about Vicāra, where the mind sustains itself with the object, right? Which is also something that we get rid of. But if the mind is not sustained with the object, then what else is remaining? Does that make sense? Right? Does the question make sense? Right? If Vicāra, the mind that sustains itself with the object, is removed, what else remains? What am I experiencing? What is the meditation about then? This is, now look at the sentence. The mind sustains itself upon the object. Atma. The mind that we refer to is more gross. It's grosser. So then what do we do? Right? What do we do? Let us take the example of a person who is so proficient in a certain task. The person initially puts themselves to do the task, and then the whole task just simply unfolds with that person because the person is simply a master at that task, right? The Vicāra that we remove is the gross pushing of mind to the object. When we remove Vicāra, how are we removing it? We remove it by immersing or just simply being with attention and sati in the present, sati sampajanya, where the object is now an experience. The object that you had to keep to initially, you had an object, you had a mind. You brought the mind here, now you have to keep the mind there. It's so gross, isn't it? It's so ganai, harima, ganai, there is atma there. Now when you remove Vicāra, that is this entity of mind there, what remains is simply the object, but now not as an object, because object is only when the mind is looking at it. Engulfed experience. That is when, for example, if we are talking about Priti Sukha, right? This physical and mental bliss and strength that occurs during our meditation, it is an experience that absolutely saturates, isn't it? Almost as if your entire universe at this point in time is simply only Priti and Sukha. When we observe, another example would be when we observe, let us say, the hardness of the earth element, your whole entirety at one stage comes to be simply hardness. No mind, No perception of mind, no perception of body, no perception of the room or the chair that you're sitting in. Simply every sammuti perception disappears and only the experience of hardness remains. Is that? Yes, right? That is when Vitakka and Vicāra is removed, because it is only so if there is a being, that is when you have to apply that being to the object. It is too gross for us to work out. Hence, we put away this being through the subtlety of meditative experience, and we come to fully be immersed with the object, which is now simply an experience. Any questions? Yes, Nathan. Okay. When you refer to the mind not being, they are to observe the object, Vicāra. Do you mean that you naturally start observing the object without effort? Okay. Are you talking about the initial phase or after you apply yourself to the object, Nathan? Which phase are you talking about? Nathan, I can't hear you. I mean, yes. So you start. So imagine, that's fine, Nathan. Imagine that, imagine, completely and let's say jumping into a pool, Nathan, right? You're at the, you're at the start of the pool of water, right? And you're observing this, right? And then at one point you let go of yourself so much so, of course, with so many factors. You know that you will not be hurt. You know that there's a pool of water. The pool is deep enough, blah, 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 right? And you let go of yourself into the pool. Now, all you will feel in that pool is the cooling sensation of water. Take it like that. Initially, you had to bring yourself to the pool, right? You had to bring yourself to the pool. And then before you get into the pool, you're wondering, oh my gosh, will it be cold? Will it be chilly? All of these things. But then you put all of that aside, isn't it, everyone? You put all of that aside and you just let go of yourself into the pool. Actually, that's a great example. Actually, that's a great example. Right? Does that make sense, Nathan? Right? So the real work is actually, because the real work or the difficult part would be to bring your mind into a position where you can simply focus on one thing. After you get there, the difficult part is done, actually. Then you start experience of being with the breath. And the more that you be with the breath or be with the element, it's so profoundly still, so profoundly peaceful, so profoundly so many things that are great with it. Then you let go of it. And let go of this differentiation of I am observing. When you let go of that thought to say, I am observing, you let go of the Vicāra and all you have is an experience. All you have is an experience. That is when even when you observe the anapanasati, your whole entirety, the breath becomes so subtle because of those harsh, rude, rough factors of mind just shredding away. Does that make sense, Nathan? Yeah. Is your question answered?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just trying to piece together. So, like, is it just sort of like another example where you sort of like in the beach, for instance, like it's a very peaceful environment, I'd say. Would you say that sort of like when you're there, you naturally sort of just observe it and you're not really like telling yourself, oh, it's a beach. That means you actually have to enjoy the moment. You just naturally sort of are in that bliss. So is it sort of like that, I presume?
Beautiful. I think that's a beautiful thing as well. Yes, Nathan. Exactly. You're not telling yourself, oh, I should be enjoying, I should be watching the waves. I mean, it's right there, right?
Yeah.
It's right there. So you let go of that thought and you just be there, just simply being there, right? Observing at that point. And in the observation also, let us say, now, in the same example of the beach, right? You would just be, but you can also start kind of looking around from east to south or whatever it is, right? Just looking around, looking for whatever. That is also something we don't do, which is we don't go looking for anything. We understand that everything that has to be observed is well within our field of experience, right? For example, Nathan, let us say you want to feel the breeze of the wind, right? And you're at the beach. You don't need to walk back or forth to experience the breeze of the wind, right? You just have to be there, right? Likewise. So we do not go looking for the breath. We do not go looking for the elements. We do not go looking for anything because everything is right here. We just need to know what is the right position and place to advert to this. So when it comes to anapana, we advert with one point, which is one could be the nostril, the tip of the nostril. It could be the chest, the expansion and contraction of the diaphragm, right? Or the abdomen, right? Or the abdomen with the expansion and the contraction of the abdomen. But do we shift from nostril to abdomen, abdomen to diaphragm? Do we shift? No, we do not. We keep our mind at one position. We decide where the position is and keep our mind there, right? Now, for example, let us say when it comes to the elements meditation, right? Now, in the elements meditation, you might think, oh, now you're looking at heat, that's Tejo Dhatu, and you're like thinking, where is the cold element, right? Or you might be looking at hardness, and then you might think, where is the softness? Is that so, right? These thoughts can occur, right? Even that sort of thought, recurring thought, we try to eliminate because when we go deeper, what happens? There is no observer, there is no mind, only experience. Right? So then if everything that is to be experienced is within my scope of experience, right? Then it is here. I only need to quiet and become more subtle in mind to be able to catch it. So the only thing that you need at that point, everyone, is simply the initiation cold. And this process gets so profoundly, when you become skilled in it, it becomes so profoundly easy that you realize that you can shift between whatever element that you would like or want to explore or see. Right? All of a sudden, when you think hardness, your whole body feels like a bag of concrete. Cement. Sorry. Wrong occasion. Cement. Right, that took me a moment. Cement, right? And all of a sudden now this heavy, hard bag of cement, you realize that bag of cement is still soft. Now then you realize through that bag of cement, now letting go, there is no attaching. Simple observation, only guiding the mind. Then you realize the bag of cement has cohesion. The paper holds all the cement together, isn't it, inside it? Cohesion. There is flowing within the bag of cement, and that too you realize through that experience. You simply only need to let go of that observer mentality that you might be so used to. Just simply being, being. Does that make sense, everyone? Any more questions? Yes, Anoma.
Sorry about it, Bhante. Thank you. Bhante, now you said in Dhātu-manasikāra that you shift now from hardness. Now we think where is the softness, and we shift to softness, which means that again it is a vitakka, that we always go into a vitakka, and then how does it work, Bhante?
Yes.
That thought itself is a vitakka, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bhante?
Yeah. So at that moment, right? At that moment, now let us say this is initially, So first of all, when we are starting with the flowing and going into, starting with the pushing and going into the flowing, which we are going to be doing everyone, that stage, that initial stage that we start with the pushing and go into the flowing, this is where you develop that familiarity with the object.
Okay. Right.
There is a vitakka, definitely. Right. However, now let us say some sort of item that you have, Anoma, you have used it so many times, you use it every single day, you're so familiar with the touch of it, you're so familiar with the length of it, you know how long, all of these things, all these specifics, right? Let us say the chair that you sit on, Anoma, you sit on it and work and do all of these things. You know how much weight you can put on it. You know what you can do on the chair, what not to do on the chair, the weak parts of the chair, the strong parts of the chair, what is wrong with the chair, what is good with the chair. You know all of that, isn't it, Anoma? Yeah, now, when you are a master of that chair, right? When you have absolutely, the ins and outs of that chair, right? Simply being on the chair, that whole experience at that point, we can come into a position where when you see the chair, you know all of its components and properties and qualities. That is what happens in the deeper stages of that Dhātumanasikāra. When initially we build the familiarity with the different 12 types, the 12 qualities of Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, right? And when you're so familiar with it, and then when you go into concentration with it, then when you say Patavi, all of these qualities come to be. There is no vitakka there. It's the experience.
Thank you, Bhante. Yeah, now I understand.
Right.
Practicing is the most important thing.
Yeah. නිකන් මේම උදාහරණයක් ගමු පුටුවට වඩා අනෝමා අපි ගත්තොත් දැන් වාගේ මුණුපුරා. Right?
Yeah.
වාගේ මුණුපුරා ගත්තොත් අනෝමා, you know what to say to him. If you want to reprimand him, you know what words to use, what words he does not like, what he likes to eat, what he doesn't like to eat, all of these things. Right? And so when you're speaking to him, what naturally, and if you're in a comfortable situation, right, and what naturally is flowing between you and you and Kavish, right, it's a natural flow. Right? Yes, naturally, yaar kamathi akamati vachana tika pavichi wennet naha. Hari, oy denna you're connecting. Think of that. Now hitanna unne me vachani pavichi kanna honda naha, me vachani pavichi kanna honda naha.
The chemistry, yeah.
That chemistry with the object. Yeah. That familiarity with the object. So now, right? So now when you know Patavi so well, right? When you know Patavi, when you have that chemistry, that familiarity in realizing these are the aspects and qualities which you build initially, now it just simply flows.
Thank you, Bhante.
Right. So when you realize when you go into the kalapas and when you take the Patavi Dhatu itself, the Paramata Dhatu, right? You can see all of those factors in that. Those vibrations. Right.
Very clear, Bhante. Thank you so much.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, Bhante. Thank you.
Thank you. Damsari.
Bhante.
Oh.
Yeah. Bhante, to me, if you contemplate on this, the hardness and the softness are the two sides of the coins. It's very similar because less harder means softer.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it merges actually, hardness and softness. Is it
Ivarada Damsari? How did that?
No, is it possible?
So yes, ඊයේ අපි ඕක කතා කරා Damsari, which is exactly true. And ඒකයි on the handout that I have circulated, you can see that I have mentioned them next to each other. Which is for the reason that you just mentioned, because it is what do you say? It is the opposite of one another, and not only those two. When you become familiar, you can actually at one point or with one sensation, if I have to say sensation, with one sense, not sensation, sense, right? Sense, you can track all 6 aspects of the earth element in one place, going from one to another. So if you track hardness, softness is easy. If you track softness, hardness is easy, because it's always shifting between these two, right?
And what I have noticed again, all these 12 properties are the fundamentals of physics.
Is that so?
Yeah, because as I can remember, the way I understood is, Dhatu means in Sanskrit, Bhautika, Patavi, or Bhuta. Bhuta means in Sanskrit, Bhautika. Bhautika is physical. So if you take a textbook of physics, all these 12 are in different chapters. So these are actually properties of physical matter.
Okay.
But we are going to experience. If you have done physics, you have experienced it. Now, even I experienced this a couple of days ago when I stepped onto a wet floor and the roughness was not there. It was slippery. I fell down and broke my ankle.
Oh no.
and that is the softness and the hardness. So we had to live with softness and hardness. So these is the fundamentals of actually nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That, of course, now one might imagine that is exactly why, Damsari, we do not stop at a vibrational level. We break the vibrational barrier and we go into the ultimate level. Right.
Yeah.
Because as long as we operate with the Sammuti definitions of this, we will always be tied to the Sammuti, the conventional reality that we all live in. We must break through that and go into the ultimate reality, right? Which is exactly why we see these properties and now go down, break kalapas and go into that essence of existence, really, material existence.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly materiality.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the characteristic of materiality.
The characteristic of materiality. right?
Yeah.
Which is the only way, which is really the only way you can really feel or experience. Now, for example, everyone to go into or to break materiality, you can't break a Samādhi materiality. You have to go to a certain level into its vibration to feel its occurring, right? And then how do we track it deeper? Through the qualities, because the qualities never disappear.
Yeah.
The qualities are always there. Of course, now, I mean, the smoothness we can experience where slippery, where there's water on a tile, or with a silky garment or something smooth, something that is polished. Yes, we can experience a smoothness, right? But there is so many things that are smooth. We do not have time in samsara to contemplate upon each and every one of them. But
Yeah.
what we can do is we can go beyond the Samādhi and try to connect with the ultimate level where there is nothing further to contemplate beyond it. That is why we do not stop at the vibrational level, the Samādhi level. Right. Hence,
Thank you, Bhante.
yes, thank you, Dhamsari. Thank you for the point that you raised. Hence, we have to at one point learn Vitakka and then Vicāra, let go of Vicāra, and immerse ourselves in that experience. Sorry, if I say immerse ourselves in that experience, is also wrong. Just simply being there in that experience, which is also slightly wrong still, right? But I hope you get what I mean, right? Letting go of the perceptive structure of I coming into the equation, so that the only thing that remains before us is a simple, open experience, right? Open experience. Now, shall we focus? Shall we go? Do we have any more questions that anyone would like to ask before we go into the meditation session? Anything else? Any doubts?
Bhante,
Yes.
can I?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Can I? It was a question you mentioned about initial application and sustained application and the experience.
Yes.
And this, Bhante, problem is a very important point. As far as I'm concerned, the initial application, rather Vitakka, they are on. If you made the initial application on a object, there are so many other Vitakka comes in. And what is the technique? Is there any technique to avoid and find to focus on one object, this object that we are going to focus? For example, hardness or smoothness or what is there any? What is a technique that one could use for?
Yes. So in order to, so we are talking about that initial phase where the Vitakka is so much, right?
Yes.
For that initial stage where the Vitakka is so much and the mind disperses very quickly into other objects beyond that of the meditation object that we are looking at, we have a technique, right? The technique is, first of all, when it comes to meditation, we meditate with intention, isn't it? We meditate with intention. So, when we go into our meditation or before we go into our meditation, it is always good to make a determination or bring that intention to light, which is, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to meditate for this long. I'm going to do this meditation. Does that make sense? Right?
Yes.
You bring that intention out, right? What is that? That is Vitakka, right?
Yes.
Then having started the now, then you sit down and then you go into the meditation, right? Which is Anapanasati maybe, right? So then that is now you start observing the breath. Now that is Vicāra. You wanted to meditate, you brought that up, that intention, and you now sat down and, or you're already seated and you close your eyes and go into your meditation. That's vichara. Now, whilst you're meditating, your mindfulness has a break or it breaks. And then again, vitakka start coming up. Use the same technique. Bring the mind back to the object at hand. That's vitakka. Keep the mind with the objects, that vichara. Again and again, again and again. Vitakka, vichara. Every time the mind wanders, vitakka, vichara. Vitakka, vichara. Vitakka, vichara. Right? There have been, I think, for all of us, when we first start to meditate and we are trying to catch the breath, right? Because the vitakka is so strong, you're unable to see the organic breath. Why? The vitakka is too gross, right? Vitakka is too gross. Almost as if you're trying to, a person who is not so good with chopstick, trying to grab a chopstick with, the two sticks, it slips away because the egg is so soft and smooth, right? But then one fine day you will be proficient. You will struggle, but then you will pick up that egg with a chopstick, right? That is the extent, that is the place that we try to come to. That is the place that we come. So again and again, we do not වැරද්දක් නම් ඒ කියන්නේ මට උස්මත් එක්ක ඉන්න බෑ. මට උස්මත් එක්ක ඉන්න බෑ කියන විතර්කේ දාගන්න එපා තමන්ට. Do not tell, because then that builds a sanya, a atma sanya, saying, I am not a person who can meditate. So we put it onto the property of mind or the skill that we are lacking. So we are able to build that specific skill. Again, vitakka vichara. Then comes two other things. Abhoga and paccavekkhana. Vitakka vichara, right? Abhoga paccavekkhana, right? When those two occur, what you're essentially doing is what? Sorry, manasikāra and paccavekkhana. Manasikāra and paccavekkhana, right? Manasikāra is now vitakka vichara. Manasikāra is you bring a state of awareness, right? You bring a state of awareness to now let go of the gross. How that works? Now, it won't be so clear. All of right now, the way I said it wasn't that clear. Now, let's go from the top again. You want to meditate. I want to meditate. I'm going to sit for an hour of meditation. Right? Now I sit down. I'm going to practice ānapanasati. I bring my mind to the breath. Vitakka, still vitakka. I keep my mind with the breath, let us say, for a couple of minutes. Now I think about how much time has it been? It seems like forever. Right? How much time? It has only been 2 minutes. It seems like forever. Right? Will I be able to do 1 hour? Right? Maybe you open your eyes slowly, there's no one is even watching you, but you open slowly so that the universe doesn't see you. You open your eyes to see the clock and you realize only 2 minutes has passed, or maybe a minute, right? And then you close your eyes back, you feel a bit ashamed as well. Again, vitakka, let me bring my mind to the object, right? Vichara, you continue with the object, which is the breath. Then again, the mind goes off into something else. Now, vitakka, again, bring the mind back to the object, anapana. Vichara, keep it with the anapana. Manasikāra, make a sense of determination that all of these other things, now you have allocated 1 hour to your meditation, all of these other things that appears in your mind can be dealt with after. Right now, meditation time. Manasikāra, right?
Right.
Then paccavekkhana. Paccavekkhana is where you, now let us say, you're meditating, right? And something pops into your mind. Let us say, I'm just giving some examples. Yeah, let us say, oh, I have to clean the house. Maybe it would be good to grab a drink with a friend. I haven't met my friends in a long time. I wonder what my wife is cooking for dinner today, right? All of these things, all of these things, right? I wonder what I can cook for dinner. Would I have to go shopping? All of these things, right? The Paccavekkhana, now what are you looking at? Now see, you have to break the gross interpretation. Which is what? Now let us say you're thinking about having some fun, seeing friends, going out for dinner, you know, blah, 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 enjoying a movie, Netflix, whatever, right? Don't look at the shallow interpretation. Go deeper. Do you understand? What is the hindrance underneath that? That is Paccavekkhana. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yes, Bhante. Yes, Bhante.
Right.
Thank you.
Now, for example, let me just finish this. Now that Vitakka, right? That Paccavekkhana, what you track is what are the qualities of my mind, right? What are the qualities of my mind that is making this meditation difficult? It's not Netflix. It's not the food. It's not the fact that your fridge might be empty and you have to go grocery shopping. You have to track the greed underneath it. Do you understand? Right? Now,
Yes,
let us say you have the thought, ගෙදරම හිටියේ එළියට කොහෙවත් ගියේ නැහැ. Right? ගෙදරටම වෙලානේ මේ දවස් කීපේ ගෙදරමයි හිටියේ දැන්නුත් දැන් මේ ගෙදර කියලා මේ thought එකක් එනවා. හරි? Now, ගෙදර ඉඳීම නෙමෙයි ප්‍රශ්නේ. ගෙදර ඉඳීමට ද්වේෂය කරන එකයි ප්‍රශ්නේ. ඒක දෙක ගැටෙනවා දැන්. Now, what is the hindrance that kept the meditation from flourishing? It was not being at home. It was the anger underneath it, Paccavekkhana. Do you understand? Does that make sense? Right? Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's called Paccavekkhana. What's that word?
Paccavekkhana. Right? The first one is, the second one is Samādhi. Dil, can you remind the first two words? Dil, you're muted.
Abhoga, the first one, Samādhi, then Manasikāra, and then Paccavekkhana.
Abhoga, Saman. I'll type it out for everyone. Dhātumanasikāra.
Samādhi, then Manasikāra and Paccavekkhana.
Manasikāra.
And Paccavekkhana.
Right. Now, the name දෙයක් හිතමු. Now, මේම දෙයක් හිතමු. දැන් කියමු දැන් අපි භාවනා කරද්දී, අපි එකට භාවනා කරද්දී, when we are meditating together, right? Let us say I'm going to fast, let us say, for you. I'm going to fast for you, right? Or I'm going to slow for you, right? ඔතකොට මේ හිතේ එනවා විතර්කයක්. You have this vitakka that comes into your mind, or thought that comes into your mind, where you're like, oh, he's going to fast again. Oh, he's so slow. What are we to do next? You get what I mean? Right? Everybody සිතුවිල්ලක් එනවා මනසට. Right? ඔතකොට how do you do the Paccavekkhana there? See the restlessness, see the mental quality behind that description or sentence that has arisen in your mind. That quality of mind, restlessness, is what is keeping you from the meditation that is progressing. So now we reduce the restlessness. How do we reduce? First of all, we acknowledge the existence of it at the Paccavekkhana level, and then we refine, right? When the moment that you realize, oh, this is just a hindrance, that itself helps you to calm down, isn't it? Right? When you realize, when you forget about, when you put aside, oh, you know, what am I going to eat for dinner? That whole conversation that you're having with yourself, right? When you realize, oh, this is just my greed trying to distract me from the meditation, now it's not food that you're going to feed yourself for dinner. It's greed. That makes it so much more impersonal, hence aiding the Atma disconnection, to disconnect from the Atma Sanya. Hence, quickly the mind will fall into a state of tranquility and bliss. Right?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, Bhante. Thank you.
Yeah?
Yes, Bhante.
So this can be applied. So this can be applied by a meditator, initially when you're starting, but just when you're starting, just start, right? And then as you progress on the day, when you realize I have so much of thoughts, right? And these thoughts, when you give these thoughts meaning, right? Now, let us say you think about this sort of negative interaction that you have had, and this starts popping into your mind, this person, right? With this person, right? Now you feel, now let us say if the interaction was at home, you feel a bit of discomfort. Why? You're giving value to the thought. Does that make sense? When you classify it as either greed, either hatred, either delusion, restlessness, or any other mental quality, then that is so impersonal, right? And you directly know at that point, make a praharne karanna ඕන දෙයක්. Make a ati. There is no true depth or value in this. I must get rid of this. This is only a vibration of the kilesa. Do you understand?
Yes, Bhante. Yes.
Huh?
Now it's clear.
Thank you for asking the question.
Thank you.
Right. Now,
Bhante,
yes.
Bhante, yesterday you said the Paccavekkhana is review. Is that right?
Paccavekkhana is reviewing, right?
Yeah, okay.
Reviewing, but reviewing, we must, it's a refining process, no? The only reason that you do the Paccavekkhana is as a refining process, right? Initially, right? Of course, Paccavekkhana at Paccavekkhana Jnana level is different, right? But more or less, the technique is somewhat the same, because even at that level, at Paccavekkhana Jnana level, what you're really tracking is keles, mona keles නැති උනේ, right? මොකද්ද මාර්ගඵල සිතේ තියෙන ගති ටික කියන එක තමයි ඒ පච්චවෙක්කනා ඥානෙන් track කරන්නේ. මේක තියෙන පච්චවෙක්කනාවෙන් කරන්නේ මාලා මේ අවස්ථාවේ what do? We are simply seeing those gross qualities of mind, not giving it value and classifying it as dhammas. That's the only way. If you give a lot of value to all of these thoughts that arise, we will never be able to meditate. We classify it. Yeah, we classify it. Now, as we go beyond, right? Initially, you can do greed, hatred, delusion, non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion, right? Because both the good and the bad create sankhara. Later on, what you can do, you can put it all into the sankhara side. මෙව සංඛාරයන් විතරයි. තව ඇතුළට ගියාම. Right? ඔතකොට ලෝභය අල්ලන්නත් ඕනේ නැහැ, ද්වේෂය අල්ලන්නත් ඕනේ නැහැ. මෙව සංඛාර විතරයි. These are all simply sankharas, rising, vibrating, disappearing. Right? But initially, it is good, right? Actually, time to time, it is really good to track අර සංඛාර ගණයට දාන්න නැතුව අර මේක ද්වේෂය, මේක ලෝභය, මේක, because then you know the mistakes or you know what you're carrying with you, isn't it? Neither. Hari. Now, everyone, let us try this out. Let us try this out. We will do 10 minutes or so of Anapana right? I will allow you to do the Anapana on your own for 10 minutes. And then I will continue after 10 minutes with the Dhātu-manasikāra guiding you through the 12. Okay, so let us sit down. Let us put everything aside, right? Silent our phones and do all of that, right? And let us try to follow along, guiding our attention to the present moment, putting aside past and the future, putting all of that aside, and simply focusing on coming into the present. coming into the present. Calming the senses as we guide our attention to the present moment. Whatever sounds that you hear in the background, simply allowing these sounds to prompt you to go deeper into the present. Not moved by anything that arises in your background. Adverting your attention to observe the breath. As we gently, with every fleeting, passing breath, the mind becomes more and more tranquil, peaceful, embracing the present moment as it is, Whatever that is to be done can be done after. Let us be with the breath. At the tip of the nostrils, at the chest, or the abdomen. Let us observe that which is unfolding with the breath. Observe, observe, observe. Gently, gently. Observing the breath and accepting the breath for what it is. Let us be with the breath. Noting the arising and passing, the arising and passing as you breathe in and out. Let us practice breathing meditation. Observe. Let us now gently guide our attention to observe the four elements fully through seeing, discerning the elements through their 12 characteristics, starting with the pushing of the breath at the tip of the nostrils as the column of air pushes in and out. We observe the nature of pushing as it unfolds through the many causes, the column of air going in and out, pushing in, out, pushing, 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 pushing. Imagine that all else disappearing as the mind observes the pushing. Pushing. As you observe the pushing, let us advert to now observing where the pushing touches against the nostrils, the column of air. As it touches against the nostrils, or as the abdomen expands and contracts, the hardness of the clothing, the hardness felt at the nostrils, the hardness as you are seated on a chair or cushion. Let us advert to hardness, 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 hardness. Observe the hardness found all across. Right here, right now. Hardness. Hardness. Let us observe and allow the hardness to be experienced fully. Gently, gently. Going back to the pushing. And then to the hardness. And now let us observe the roughness. 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 To discern the roughness. You could rub your tongue over the edge of your teeth and discern the roughness. Roughness all across the body. All across the body. Observe. 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 From the roughness, let us move to observe the pushing, 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 hardness, 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 roughness, 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 being within the present, and with every quality that is discerned, the mind becoming more and more still, at peace, in the moment. Roughness, 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 heaviness, heaviness, heaviness. Observe, observe, observe the heaviness of this mass. The whole body pulled down by the force of gravity. Heaviness is quite easily discernible, distinct from all other characteristics. Observe and advert to only observe the heaviness, heaviness, heaviness. Heaviness, heaviness, heaviness. Let us swiftly advert to the pushing, hardness, hardness, hardness. Roughness, roughness, heaviness, heaviness, heaviness. to advert to the nature of supporting the posture being supported by the air element to maintain the posture. The head held where it is, the back where it is. This is the nature of supporting, observe, observe, observe. Being alert and relaxed as we discern these aspects of the elements, the qualities, gently adverting to the pushing, pushing, swiftly adverting to the hardness, 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 hardness. Swiftly roughness, 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 roughness. Swiftly, heaviness, heaviness, heaviness. Swiftly supporting, 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 as we try to now discern the softness, the softness, softness. You could press the tongue down on the bed of the jaw to feel the softness, discerning softness. See the softness all across this body and advert softness, softness, softness. Observe, discern, discern. observing swiftly pushing hardness, 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 roughness, 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 heaviness, 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 supporting, 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 softness, 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 coming to now discern smoothness, smoothness, smoothness can be discerned as you simply guide your tongue along the walls of the mouth. Smoothness, smooth, smoothness, smoothness. Observe the smoothness all across the body. All across. All across. discerning, pushing, hardness, roughness, heaviness, supporting, softness, smoothness, and gently but swiftly coming to now discern lightness all across the body. Lightness, light, light. As we observe the lightness all across the body, let us swiftly go over, pushing, 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 hardness, 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 roughness, 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 heaviness, 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 supporting, supporting softness, 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 smoothness, 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 lightness, 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 lightness. Observing the lightness across the whole body. Gently, let us now observe the heat across the whole body. Whole body. Whole body. Observe. Observe. As we observe the heat all throughout the body, let us now advert to the cold, to the cold, gently, 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 observing the cold, the cold. discerning swiftly, pushing, 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 hardness, 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 roughness, 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 heaviness, 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 roughness, 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 heaviness, 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 supporting, 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 softness, 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 smoothness, 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 lightness, 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 heat, 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 cold, 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 and swiftly coming to now discern the cohesion, cohesion, cohesion. This body, the quality, the element, held together, held together. Cohesion, the force of gravity that keeps the body grounded on earth. Cohesion, cohesion. The body held together. Observe Observe. Observe. Cohesion. 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 Gently guiding your attention to discern pushing, 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 hardness, hardness, hardness. hardness, roughness, 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 heaviness, 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 supporting, 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 softness, 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 smoothness, 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 lightness, 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 heat, 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 cold, 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 cohesion, 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 and let us now discern flowing, the nature of flowing across the body, saliva flowing in the mouth, blood flowing through the vessel, air flowing into the lung, heat flowing throughout the body, flowing, flowing, flowing. A whole mass of flowing, 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 discern, discern, discern. Gently guiding your attention to the breath. Observe the breath. Observe the breath. Gently, gently reviewing the practice, the attributes of mind that presented itself through the practice, the quality of attention, concentration, the speed of discernment, the obstructions that might have appeared, and how they were maneuvered through the practice. The clarity of the element, the clarity of the element. Gently, 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 taking a deep breath in, breathing out, relax. Deep breath in, relax. Deep breath in again. Breathing out, relaxing and gently opening your eyes and awakening to the present. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right. So before we do go on to question and answers with regards to your kammatthana and your experiences, one thing to note is we observe the breath, we discern the elements. We observe the breath, but we discern the elements. We do not observe the elements at this point, we discern them. What is the difference in observing and discerning? Discerning on an abhidhamma level is prajna, and observing is sati. When we discern, we differentiate between certain experiences or certain qualities. When we observe, we simply observe. There is no distinct difference between one breath and the other that we are observing. But of course, as we progress in anapanasati, also we realize not all breaths are the same. The long breath that you saw yesterday and the long breath that you might see today might be different. of course, that becomes apparent, right? We are not looking out for that difference, but that becomes apparent through observation. But in discerning the elements, when we take pushing, pushing is distinctively different from flowing. Neither. When we take hardness, hardness is distinctively different from cohesion. Right? When we take heaviness, now the heaviness is felt because of the gravitational pull. Because of the gravitational pull, things are heavy. The body is heavy. However, gravitational pull is also cohesion. Gravity is cohesion. Very two different aspects though. Hardness is Patavi, earth element. Cohesion is water element. Isn't that so? But we feel the heaviness because of the gravity. The elements are discerned. The breath is observed. Does that make sense? Now, a few tips to add on to today's meditation. Of course, we've been discussing this meditation and we've been really pushing this meditation quite literally, quite literally. Now, in this meditation, I understand everyone, 12 qualities is a bit overwhelming. Yes, understood. However, 12 qualities එකපාරටම කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. Right? Meaning now, because we wanted the recording today, and of course, this is the whole of the 12, I led you from Anapana into pushing and ending with flowing. Hari? But the thing is, the real technique is, now let us say, pushing, hardness, roughness, right? Now, roughness is with the comments I've received, some find it hard to track the roughness, right? But let us say, only when you see the pushing properly, do you go to the hardness. Only when you see the hardness, do you go into the roughness. Only when you see the roughness properly, do you go into the smoothness. Is that understood, everyone? So take it a session at a time, and know this properly. Now also, know this properly and go along the 12. Try to complete the 12, but don't be touching it in a shallow manner. Drop yourself into it. Let yourself go into pushing. Let yourself go into heaviness, roughness, hardness, softness, heat, cold, everything, right? And you find, for example, cold comes after heat, right? And you might be wondering, cold and heat, why? Heat and cold. අර දම්සිරි කියපු කතාව එතන වැදගත් වෙනවා මොකද it's like spectrum එකක් වගේ. heat එක අඩු වෙන ගමන් මෙතන අල්ලන්න පුළුවන් cold ගතියක්. heat එක ගොඩාක් වැඩි තැනක අමාරුයි of course. but heat එක අඩු වෙන්න cold එක වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි මේ වචන සම්භාරයෙන් අපි මේ cold කියලා කිව්වට although we say cold, you understand it is the opposite of heat. Neither. Right? So you can track it in that manner. But make sure that you do discern each and every part of it. Right? Now, for example, when it comes to concentration, your concentration, the Vitakka Vicāra that we spoke earlier, all of that can be developed through Dhātu-manasikāra itself. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් අපි මේ ගුරුරුත් එක්ක ඒව ඔක්කොම එක්ක දැන් අපි මේ යන ගමනක්නේ. ඔතකොට දැන් සමහරක් ආනාපාන සතිය වඩලා ධාතු-මනසිකාරය කරනවා. You do ආනාපාන සති භාවනා and you do ධාතු-මනසිකාර afterwards. Some, they don't do ආනාපාන, they do ධාතු-මනසිකාර. Right? Which means to say, should you be devoted into the discernment of the 12 factors, your concentration will develop. Eteka genuinely, you must do it as a genuine practice and go to its depths. You have to want to go to its depths. Of course, that is also my fault actually, because I'm trying to inspire you, right? And to also sort of give you a sense of urgency. I'm like, okay, get this done, people. Let's go, do this week. Let's move on to the next one next week. I mean, that is who I am, right? And you might be doing, it would be natural to want to get this over with so that we can progress. That is a hindrance. Right? ඉතින් ගොඩාක් පැති නේද? balance කරලා we come into this flow, this serenity, right? So එවැනි මානසිකාරයකුත් හට ගන්නවා නම් ඒක ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් අවධානයක් යොමු කරන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ මේක ඉවරලා හරි ඉක්මනින් අපි මේක කරලා අනිත් එකට යන්න. එහෙම we cannot, right? But ඒ වගේ අදහසක් එන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද අපි දන්නවා වෙන දේවල් දැන් රූප ටික discern කරන්න තියෙනවා, නාමයේ discern කරන්න තියෙන ඒ ඔක්කොම it's like අර නිකන් university වල assignments ටිකක් වගේ. It might feel like that sometimes because my mind works like that, right? But one must know, right, that we have to මේක හොඳටම බැලුවම පස්සේ අර concentration එකේ aspects ටික, the aspects of concentration they will cultivate, right? And මේකෙන් පැහැදිලි වෙන්නේ මේ යථාර්ථ ස්වභාවය, the ultimate reality of things, right? So what were your experiences today, right? Then හේමාලේ අපි ඔයාගෙන් පටන් ගමු. Oh, sorry. Let me give permission. Hurry. Try unmuting yourself.
Sanasa, today that quality එක දැනගත්තාම සන්නහස discern කරන්න ලේසි වගේ දැනුණා මට. quality එක හොඳට දැනුණාම discerning is easy. අන්තකර සන්නහසර මට කියන්නේ most end of the කියන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලා ගියාට පස්සේ සන්නහසර lightness කියනකොට මම අර finger එක පොඩ්ඩක් move කරලා lightness එක හොඳට feel වුණා. ඊට පස්සේ මේ heatness එකයි cold එකයි හොඳට දැනුණා සන්නහස ඇඟිලිත් එක්ක.
Yes.
මට එතකොට ටිකක් සතුටුකුත් ආවා. මම දන්නේ ඒක හොඳද කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ සන්නහස කියපු ගමන්ම heatness එක දැනුණා. Heat. ඊට පස්සේ through heat I felt the coldness also, but through my fingers. ගිය පාට වඩා හොඳට කරා කියලා තේරෙනවා සයන්.
Okay. Okay. ඔතකොට අර මේ saturated experience එකකුත් ආවද හේමාලේ?
මේ සනස ඇත්තටම අර මේ hardness කිව්වම hardness එක හොඳට දැනෙනවා සවන්නස.
හොඳටම.
හොඳට දැනුණා. කියන්නේ හොඳට දැනුණා කියලා මට තේරෙන්නේ කොහෙවත් හිත ගියේ නෑ සවන්නස.
කොහෙවත් හිත
hardness එකේ තිබුණා. ඔව්.
හරි. දැන් හේමාලේ තින් වෙලාව මේ හේමාලේගේ කර්මස්ථානයේ වෙන්නේ දැන් අර flowing technique flowing එකෙන් පටන් අරගෙන නෑ pushing එකෙන් පටන් අරගෙන flowing එකකින් ඉවර වෙන ක්‍රමයෙන් දැන් යන්න මේ අර අනුපුබ්බතෝ කියලා අපි කිව්වේ හේමාලි මේ බුදුහාමුදුරන්ගේ ක්‍රමයට පඨවි ආපෝ තේජෝ වායෝ.
පඨවි ආපෝ තේජෝ මට බුදුහාමුදුරුවොත් මතක් වුණා සයන්හස. ඒ කියන්නේ අර මට එහෙම දැනෙනකොට බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ කොච්චර සේවද කියලා දැනෙනවා.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔතකොට එතන එන්නේ අර ප්‍රීතිය ගතියනේ.
ගතිය වෙන්නේ නැති
එතන එන්නේ හේමාලි එතන ප්‍රීති සුඛයේ ගතිය. ඒ කියන්නේ concentrated mind එකේ ගතිය ටික ඔය එන්නේ. Which is good, right? ඒත් ඒව ගැන let them be. ඒවට ඉන්න දෙන්න. හරි. ඒ දැන් යන අර අනුපුබ්බතෝ ගතියට ගිහිල්ලා දැන් පඨවි කියලා කිව්වම හේමාලි පඨවි වල ගති 6ක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ගති 6 බලන්න. හරි. ඒත් හොඳට අර are you confident that you're familiar? ඒ කියන්නේ දුලාම හොඳටම අල්ලන්න පුළුවන්ද?
මම තව ටිකක් ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරන්නම් සයන්හස. අද හොඳට දැනුණා. හැබැයි මම තව ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරන්න.
තව ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරන්න. මේම කරන්න හේමාලේ. උඩ ඉඳන් පාලට යන්න, පහළ ඉඳන් උඩට යන්න. මේ ඇඟේ නෙමේ. දැන් අර pushing එකෙන් පටන් අරගෙන flowing එකට යනවනේ. flowing එකෙන් ආපහු එන්න උඩට. උඩ ඉඳන් ආපහු යන්න යටට. ඒ කියන්නේ ඇඟේ නෙමේ lies to it. right? කාය සංඥාව නැති වෙන්න මට්ටමට කාය සංඥාවක්. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ කයක් තියෙනවා කියන සංඥාව නැති වෙන මට්ටමට ප්‍රගුණ කරන්න. හොඳටම very comfortable. Right? Very very comfortable. Very familiar. නිකන් like you are walking around your own house. Right? Very comfortable. ඒ මට්ටමට. Right? බඩලා ඊට පස්සේ අනුපුබ්බතෝ එකට. හරි. ඒ දැන් තව දවස් කීපයක් බලන්නකෝ ඊට පස්සේ අපි කතා කරමු. හරි. මේ බඩලා I'm very happy here Mali. You have come a very long way.
I'm also happy and I want to share.
So sweet. I'm very happy about.
Thank you.
හරි. මේ අපි
Thank you.
හරි. Mala, what are your thoughts, Mala?
Bhante, I find Dhātu-manasikāra, I find it easier to concentrate because I'm thinking now this is pushing, and when I finish the pushing, I have to think, and now I have to go to the hardness like that. So there's no space for my mind to wander because I think, okay, I finished this one, now I have to go to the next one. Unlike with Anapana, I have to think, okay, when I finish this one, I have to think of the next one. So the wandering mind is less with Dhātumanasikāra.
Yeah, the wandering mind is less, but Vitakka is more.
Why do you say that, Bhante?
මොකද this is something ඒ කියන්නේ අර ආනාපාන සතියේ which you can continue along this. You can continue, but what I would tell you, Mala, is don't do all 12 in one go.
Okay.
දැන් අද භාවනා කරනවනේ. අද භාවනා කරනකොට ගන්න අපි කියමු දැන් පැයක් භාවනා කරනවනේ Mala. You do 1 hour, right?
Yeah.
පැයක් භාවනා කරනකොට ඒ පැයට ගන්න ගති 3ක් නැත්නම් 2ක්. එහෙම මෙව කළා මොකද දැන් ඔය කීපු කතාවම තමයි අත්හැර ගන්න ඕන. ඕක අත්හැර ගන්න ඕන. ඒ කියන්නේ නැත්තම් තර්කය අල්ලගෙන අපි ඉස්සරහට යන්න හදනවද? It is easy. දැන් guided meditation එක හරිම ලේසි. ඒ පුළුවන් නම් මගේ guided meditation එක නැතුව භාවනා කරන්න උත්සාහවත් වෙන්න.
Because I started with your guided meditation.
Yeah, now you are very familiar with and you like the guided meditation. විතර්කේ හලා ගන්න ඕන. ඒ කියන්නේ විතර්කේ එනවා කියලා කියන්නේ concentration එක ඝනයි. කණික සමාධියට විතරයි යන්න පුළුවන් විතර්කත එක්ක. හරි. එතන කණික සමාධිය ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට වඩා තව පොඩ්ඩක් යන්න පුළුවන් එතනට, but try to, of course you can use the guided meditation. ඒ වුණාට slowly try to come out of the guided meditation and do the self meditation, right? කණින් ඔතකොට අර discipline එක තව වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අර විතර්කයේ inference එක අඩු කරන්න ඕනේ පුළුවන් තරම්. විතර්කයක් නැති මට්ටමට. හරි. දැන් for example මාලා තව පොඩි කතාවක් හිතන්න. දැන් විදර්ශනාවේ discernment කියන එක හරියට එනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ විදර්ශනාව තියෙන්නම discern කරන්න. හරි. ඒ discern කරන්නේ විතර්කේ නැතුව. right. ඉතින් ඕක අපි දැම්මම අපි ඕක හලලා ඉස්සරහට යන්න උත්සාහවත්. Let's try to drop the vitakka and go forward. So immerse yourself. ඒ කියන්නේ 12ම කරන්නේ නැතුව දෙකක් හෝ තුනක් කරලා. ඒකෙන් get the path forward.
You mentioned the word anupubbato. I haven't heard that word before.
Anupubbato, we spoke about anupubbato 2 sessions ago, right? Anupubbato is the way the Buddha has the structure of the Buddha. Structure of the Buddha කියන්නේ දැන් for example the Buddha says metta mudita karuna upekka. metta mudita karuna upekka කියලා කිව්වම අපි උපේක්ෂා භාවනාවෙන් පටන් ගන්න නෑනේ. නේද? අපි මෛත්‍රිය මෙත්තා මුදිතා කරුණා උපේක්ඛා ඒ විදිහට අපි යන්නේ. Does that make sense? Right? ඒ කියන්නේ for example දැන් ආනාපාන සතිය දැන් කියමු සතිපට්ඨානෙ ධම්මානුපස්සන අන්තිමට තියෙන. ධම්මානුපස්සනාවෙන් අපි පටන් ගන්න නෑනේ භාවනාව. අනුපුබ්බතෝ කියලා කියන්නේ බුදුහාඳුරන් කියා දුන අර ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක ෆලෝ කරනවා කියන එක.
හරි.
හරි. අනුපුබ්බතෝ. හරි. හරි. Thank you. මේ කවුද අපි දැන් ගන්නෙ? මේ anyone else? Manju, I haven't heard from you. Manju, are you here with us? Okay, maybe not. Right. Nathan, how was your experience? Were you able to meditate through the long course?
Yeah, I was able to do it for the whole course. It was just the elements which I found.
Yeah. What I would tell you, Nathan, is because of course I know that you're practicing every day, right? But try to get back on to, you do the breathing meditation, right, Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay. So the breathing meditation, but you do the breathing meditation to de-stress.
Yeah.
Is that the intention of meditation?
Not only de-stress, but like it helps to focus as well. When I start the day, just to get my work done and whatever I need to do, it helps with the stress and focus as well.
Okay. So are you meditating to de-stress and focus?
Partly, yeah, I guess partly.
What is the other part?
Obviously get used to the other practice. I guess it's based on like the elements and all the other types of meditation that exist. Like if you can't do the breathing meditation, then obviously it's difficult to progress to the other ones. So I'd say it's to give myself a stepping stone to obviously progress into the other foundations of meditation.
Okay, for what?
To be able to realize and then come up with these realizations as well, like
the reality.
The reality and all the teach when you say one thing, like you have it in your mind saying, okay, like desire is bad, for example, like at least suffering, but actually kind of absorbing that rather than knowing that as just theory, making that sort of absorbed, and I know that,
Okay. So then you have an intention there. Now, the intention, Nathan, right? Now, for example, let us say we are sitting down to de-stress, right? And to focus, right? Yeah. Let us say if you meditate in the morning, so let us say focus and to sort of, have a focused mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that is the intention, That is all that you're going to get.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So let us now, focus comes easy, Nathan, right? Let us shift the focus. Let us shift to the other intention, which is getting to experience and coming to realizing the reality of things.
Yeah.
That intention, right? So take that, bring that intention up, the focus and all of that will happen ancillary, right? Bring that focus up and be with the Anapana. What is your experience in the Anapana, Nathan?
Sorry, Bhante, the fire alarm is going on right now.
Oh my. Don't worry. You have to go tend to the fire alarm, yes?
Oh, no, I don't know if you can hear me though. I think someone's just cooking something downstairs. That's fine. If you can't hear me, I'm just gonna.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So with the Anapanasati, that's pretty much my main focus. That's the breathing meditation, if I'm correct. Yeah. So, like, I'm able to do that properly in the sense, like I can practice, like any day I can stay for the full 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So maybe even 1 hour. I haven't pushed myself to that extent yet, but I am confident I can do it.
Okay.
So that was like my biggest barrier at the start, was just to
observe.
It was like 5 minutes really hard. So I think I am confident with the Anapanasati.
Yeah. See, now Nathan, from that Anapanasati, you can go on to, I will WhatsApp you the structure to follow with the gross breath, the long breath, the short breath. Now you can come from that on, because you've been doing Anapanasati for some time. Come on to experience the gross breath, the subtle breath, those parts. Now I will send you what to follow, Nathan. Okay. And then the Anapanasati focus, it will grow and expand.
Yeah.
Right. So you can get on to then the Satipatthana Anapana. Right?
Yes.
Okay, Nathan. I'll send it over to you. Okay.
That'd be great. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. Right. Dil, you want to say something, Dil?
Yes, Bhante. Thank you. So because I have been now practicing the way, looking and discerning at the elements and doing them over and over again, and also because I have done many sessions with you, and particularly yesterday, which was very, very helpful because you really broke it down and we had a chance of practicing. I found that as compared to when I was on retreat and I didn't understand any of this, looking at these different qualities and discerning the elements, that it is now becoming very much more something that I like doing and I look forward to doing. So that's for me a huge shift, because I felt I didn't know. And now there is a set, and I like that you organized it and you planned it, and that you always make us, asevana pacha, do you back breathe. And I found that even though at the time I told you all my piti sukha went and I didn't like it, but after I see the value of it after repeatedly doing it more. So for me, that's another huge step from that, because but you were telling, don't let it go. But I said, what's the point? I'm not getting piti sukha. And you said, that's only your mind. And so listening, it's difficult when you're out of your comfort zone, and something to change is difficult. But because I have had many sessions and because I have repeatedly done, I have seen the value of it. So I want to thank you. So today's session also, I look forward to it very much. And what I noticed was that first time when you let us just do Anapanasati, like what I normally have got used to doing for many years before you focused on going.
What was your experience today, Dil? Ada monoada?
Ada istandati mam balwe I did the normal way where you manage to do, bring your attention to the breath and holding. So you observed when it was long and short, and so the four stages of the Anapanasati. I did, but then you changed. So today's experience, when you were guiding us and you didn't do the Anupubata method, you did the other method. It was what I noticed, but it was easy now, having practiced it, when you said to feel all those. Some elements I could discern very much easier than the others. So for example, like how it was ordered, and I realized that.
So Dil, there what you have to do is the same thing that I suggested to Mala, right? Take one at a time, right? And allow yourself to absolutely go into the depth of that one, right? Slowly slowing it down there and going to the depth of one, right? And up until you see it to a greater depth, right? Don't go to the next one. Once you are somewhat happy, go to the next one and then come back again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Bhante, because now I have been.
Now, what is the question, Dil? What is the question?
Question is that I could, some of them were easy to get, and I could immerse myself very much in them for a long time, but in the guided meditation, I moved to the other ones. So when I'm doing it by myself, shall I just immerse myself? For example, the pushing, the hardness, the flowing, you know, those are quite easy for me, the supporting. So do I just immerse in myself in those without, obviously not doing all the 12, but not looking at the more subtleties like the softness and the smoothness, which
no.
I had.
So the thing is, first of all, we don't jump, right? We don't jump. Yes, of course, for certain people, certain types become more sort of, apparent, and some others are not. For some others, those ones become more apparent, of course. However, what we try to then do is to simply observe, right? And that is exactly what I mentioned at the beginning of the class, the Vitakka Vicāra, and letting go of the Vitakka Vicāra, right? First, you advert yourself to the element, and then you sustain yourself in the element, and then you let go of Vitakka and Vicāra, and simply what is there. It is not me adverting to the element, just the element. That is all that's there, just the element. Now, in the immersing, I am immersing myself. Of course, we must use words to communicate now. But what I really do hope is that the real technique is coming through, which is Vitakka and Vicāra disappearing, and what is remaining? Only the element.
Right, Bhante. So when I'm doing by myself, that's what I do now. So do I then still practice like this, or shall I go now do the Anupubbato method? Or
no Anupubbato yet. Still practice and become so skillful in it.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So thank you all for joining in for today's session. We will continue next week with some other advices, and of course a Kammatthana for all of you to continue. Some of you are speaking to me through the week as you progress every 2 days or so. So I'm looking forward to hearing and receiving those text messages. Should you forget, I will be texting you. Right. So please do send me those Kammatthana, what your experiences are. So today we've done Kammatthana, and if you did not have the ability to share your experience in the public forum, do send me a message and I will go through and respond back. Take care, everyone. Wish you all have a lovely
Bhante,
yes.
Tomorrow, what are you going to do for Dhammasangani? What are you going to do?
We are going to continue on the second part of the Upadinatrika, Neda. I don't. Did we finish the first part of the Upadana Tika?
No.
So we will continue along that, the Upadana.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you. All right. Teruvan Sarnai, everyone. Take care.
Teruvan Sarnai, Bhante.